I thought it was normal to have your hydraulics leaking all the time.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, then in the last
Oil all
30,
over the trunk.
And they're supposed to be proud of it, right?
yeah, yeah,
Why is it
last-
leaking? So it's not my engine, it's my hydraulics.
yeah, yeah.
Do you have hydraulics on this car? Yeah. Hell yeah.
Talking about what are you talking about leaks? You know, in the last 30, 40 years, it's different. I mean, because you buy brand new parts. In our day, we had to buy used aircraft parts and try to make things
Out on a
fit.
date,
Work.
trying to tie-strap the
Yeah,
hoses under
yeah.
the car because they're hanging
So
there.
all my school books were filled with hydraulic fluid in my trunk.
Don't bring that damn car in this driveway.
Yeah,
Fix it out there first before you come in. And my dad,
they all
always,
leaked.
man. What's happening, everybody? This is the Wire Down Show. I am Joe Ray, and these two guys left to right are the Bachelors LTD. And if you want to get along with going way back in the days when the iconic car clubs were around and were major influences to a lot older people like myself, this was one of the clubs back in the name. There were only a few of them out there. We're going to get into customization, what it was like then, the town we lived in, and they're going to introduce themselves to you right now. To my left over here, Ronnie, go ahead and tell everybody hello there.
What's going on, guys? My name is Ron Gomez, Bachelors Ltd.
And you, Dominic?
Dominic, Danerie, grew up in Monterey Park with Joe and Ron, and yeah, great times.
So when we do this show all the time, there's always going to be the basic questions, and things can change. If you ask me right now what my influences were in lowriding, or to, you know, I need a drug, I need to score, and that was it. I was influenced highly in a little town called Monterey Park, just above East Los Angeles, above the college.
Mm-hmm.
The cops were pigs, but anyways, they're nice guys now. There's probably only 5 of them since we left the neighborhood. But up there in Monterey Park, you had Orpheus, you had the Bachelors, and then we had a park up there in the hill. But we were growing up in the times when the Schwinn Stingrays came out. McDonald's just busted out down the hill on Atlantic Boulevard. The brand new McDonald's, when hamburgers were, what, 18 cents
Yeah,
each?
I think so.
And I grew up with these guys. I went to Catholic elementary and Catholic high school with these guys. Ronnie, you were a little bit different. You were more of a rebel than us. But my influences are that my mom would take my brother Les, who was more advanced than me too, and sometimes we take another road going up to the trails up there, you know, to where we lived. And we would pass by, and we got all excited. Me and my brother sitting back in a '63 Rivy, cruising by, almost brand new actually. And we would cruise by, and my mom would come on and say, "Oh, mijo, Les, yes. Don't look at that guy on the left. Don't look at him. He's bad news." And we go by, and it would be Whitehall, right? And he would be sitting out there. He was only 14, and he had his sleeves rolled up, and he had cigarettes in them, you know, cupped into his shirt sleeves. He had a cigarette on his ear, and I told you guys not to look at him. And then my brother goes, "He's looking right back at us," and he would just check us out. Well, we were going to school with him. I remember wing tips very well with him and everything. And then when we keep on going up the hill, we'd see your Chevelle, right?
Yeah.
Was it 68?
69.
69 Chevelle, all flaked out. And then every now and then we'd go around the back trails on the other side to come down the hill, and we used to see your 58, and it was custom modified. You did taillights, you shaved, you did all kinds of things. So 2 weeks later, we go back up, same old thing. There's Robert watching us mad dog, and he's like, "What are you doing in my neighborhood?" And then here we come up to the Chevelle, and it's another color, this time with flames on it. We do the roundabout, and we go by, and now you have a 66 Impala, yeah, with Grand Prix.
65, yes.
65 with Grand Prix taillights in the bumpers, right?
Right.
Okay, so you want to talk about influences right there? Different paint jobs all the time, not to mention Chuck Playas' 64, which is only a few years old, candy lime green.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that the next time we went down the hill, we're going to Save-Ons, we're going to buy model cars, and we were going to copy exactly what you guys were doing to your cars. So they had a major influence on us a lot growing up. So the first thing we get going here is, you grew up in Monterey Park. What schools did you go to?
Went to Brightwood in the elementary and then to Cantwell in as far as high school. Graduated from there in 72.
Oh, you were class of 72?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I was like in the 80s. I'm sorry. And you, Dominic?
I went to St. Thomas Aquinas along with you, Joe, and then Catwell High School. And I do want to mention, I do remember your mother's 63 Riviera. If I'm not mistaken, tell me if I'm wrong, but white with red interior.
Well, when they delivered it, it had red interior. My dad didn't trip out on the white car with red interior, which, man, the red interiors on a brand new 63 Riviera would have been nice. He got mad and says, no, I ordered a black one. I don't want this in red. And we had to wait another 2 weeks.
Ah, okay. All right.
But then there was Fred's Shell station down there in the corner. And Fred, pompadour, greased back, nicest guy ever. If you knew him well, we had gas odd and even days. And if you knew him pretty well, or your parents did, you can cut in line, or he'd tell you, come by at 6 o'clock and I'll put gas in your cars.
Yep.
But it was a great time of growing up, man, especially for lowriders. Back in that time, I think it was in its prime, because lowriding back then was about customization. Ronnie, if we're going to go back, and people always ask, is it the Zoot Suits that started the whole thing? When did lowriders really start? And we could come out with Hines. We could come out with Harris. We could mention a bunch of people, man, that were pioneers in customizing. But if it's lead sleds or just customs, it just seemed to me that even when I went to Canning's and see all the crazed out bands, there were a few lowriders in there, and they were doing all kinds of modifications. And to us, that's what it was all about. Change the front end, tail lights, headlights, right? And that's what you were into, especially.
Yeah, there was a big mix as far as back in the 40s and the 50s. They had a lot of customs were started in the chopping of the tops and all that kind of stuff. Really didn't have all the lowering capabilities that they do now. But they would lower them a little bit, and then customization started to fall off in the late 50s. Lowrider started to come in, and then I think there was a mix towards the late 60s, whether you had a lowrider, but you were still customizing certain parts of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And I caught on to that a lot. My dad owned gas stations in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and in part of the 80s. And he had one in he had two in LA, one in Sunset and Portia, one in Temple and Alvarado. And as we had to work there on the weekends and holidays and all that kind of stuff, there was no ifs and buts about that. So as cars would come in, you would see certain cars, lowriders, and the one that really caught my attention, it belonged to a guy named Harris. Harris was from Echo Park. He had a 66 Riviera, and it's still around. I think Albert owns it now, but it was a beautiful paint job, lowered, had Pescos and all that stuff on it. And so I took when I got my 58, I took it to him, and we put put the lifts in the front. And then I started doing customization. Like you said, I changed the tail lights in the back, shaved the door handles, put micro switches on the side trim where you would hit it and the door would pop open. Just a lot of little stuff that nobody would really recognize or know, but just did it because, I felt I wanted to be different. And that was the whole thing. I wanted to be unique. I wanted to be different. And that's why every car I owned, it would sort of be different from where it's supposed to be. Just like the 65 with the rolled front end, Grand Prix lights. That thing used to hit frame, and used to do a lot of stupid shit back then.
I mean, but change steering wheels. You had the bunny ear antennas on your car, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. That was one of the accessories that a lot of guys use, just to something not too expensive, but it would really change the look of your car.
We were the same age, Dominic. I mean, we're altar boys together and all of that stuff. But, things like that, you talk about influences. We raced home, got in our model cars, and tried to figure out with a pair of pliers we took from my dad's toolbox, and we take paper clips and make bunny ears. We would bend them and try to use the whole tube of tester's glue to keep that thing up, or put a book by it just to hold it up in the morning and come back and wow. And then it was again, if we had to jump on our bikes, we had to come and see what this guy was doing next. Yeah. And you stood out to me more than anybody because of what you did, Frenching in your antennas, the taillights, and when you look back, I know that the Impalas were mostly all one-off, 61, 62, 63, but the Rivieras and the Pontiacs, they lasted for 2-3 years before they would change a body style. And all they would do, GM would do, was just the the builders and designers, they would change the headlights or the parking lamps or the tail lights
Right.
all the time, but you get the same body.
Yeah.
So that kind of had to influence you too, because that's what you were doing.
Yes.
And there were other cars. Don't get me wrong, 66 Riviera was the baddest, but you can improve on it and you can change lights from another year, make, and model
Mhm.
and put it on there. And that was the fun part. And that's what I mean. That's not just the influence, but that's just like building a model car, but you get to build a car and design one your own way. And that's what lowriding is all about. Doesn't care who made it, what year, what model, what make, it's your own. Where it says just below a sign, if you're showing it who you are, you're not General Motors. And you did that, and you did that quite a bit. Dominic, when you had the Chevelle, you had other cars too, though, back then. Right?
Yeah, my first car was a 64 Impala, and I got that when I was 15. And I worked on it till I was 16, got my license the day I turned 16. By that time, the car was just about done. The hydraulics, paint, and wheels and everything. And that's what started it off.
See, and that's how much more advanced you guys were. Maybe because you lived up higher on the hill. But at 15, I had a brand new Schwinn Ram's horn bike with
Yeah.
a sissy bar in the back. The doctors and the lawyers were all tripping out on my bike. I was ahead of them again. You know, it's always like you had to keep up with the Joneses in the neighborhood. And my dad liked that, being a truck driver. He liked to compete with some of the neighbors that were lawyers, real estate agents, and doctors.
Yeah.
But you were already with a 64 already. Did Chuck Belaez have any influence on you going down the
Yeah,
hill?
I mean, I loved his car. Beautiful car. I'm not sure who painted it or who did all the work on it.
Yeah, that
Ron,
lime
you might
green
know.
paint was really awesome.
Like a
Beautiful
Nile
pearl.
green
For
lacquer,
that
huh?
time, it
Yeah.
was like a pearl green or
Yeah.
candy
Yeah.
pearl. I'm not sure, but
Check
for
out
that
the-
time in the early 70s, it was a car that stood out.
Who were your influences back then? Besides, we'll get into your brother.
Yeah,
Nick.
well, that's one we'll get into him later if you want. And
Yeah.
Ron, like you say, he was always with the different stuff. You know, you guys would paint their cars, maybe hydraulics, some Kragers. Okay, that's a beautiful car. Then Ron would drive up in some car that whole back end's different, all a custom, and so I never really built a custom that much back then, but I really admired the way he used to do them.
You did any shaving or anything else on yours?
You know what? I was almost kind of like an original car guy, just with some wheels. I drive clean.
Original was
kind of,
flaked out.
well, the
different colors
Chevelle,
and
yeah, I went a little
blades and-
crazy on the paint
Yeah,
job,
yeah.
yeah. But as far as body modifications, nothing really. I guess I liked the GM styling, but I wanted to put my own touch on it, I guess.
And the cool thing about, later on, we were already 15 and 16. Here we go. We're going to high school now. So we go to Cantwell High School in Montebello, and I've told this story a million times. A block away is Whittier Boulevard in Garfield, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about low riding and the culture back then, how it got going, I mean, you saw the Imperials in the group. The Imperials were in our sophomore parking lot. The Bachelors were in there. That parachute, was it a Malibu? The parachute headliner.
Oh, yeah.
Red and gold was the Cantwell Cardinals of red and gold.
Yeah.
That was a badass car. That was the
Yeah.
Bachelors
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
There was Russell
Fresh.
Poblano that joined the Imperials with Tommy Ramos.
Yeah.
We grew up with all these guys. They were in our class.
Yeah.
Were you a troublemaker in high school?
No, I tried not to be anyway.
Because
Might have
you
been
remember
labeled
we had
myself.
Lozier. We had
Yeah.
all kinds of different teachers.
Yeah.
And they would always, because I could draw back then, they would put me way back in the desk in the back, and all the bullies and the troublemakers would sit back in class. This is sophomore and junior year. Joe, can you just take them back there and entertain them, draw whatever they want, so we wouldn't disrupt the class?
Yeah.
Because we would throw spitballs, we hit the teacher and everything and
Yeah.
yell out. And it was a bunch of stuff we used to do. Poor teachers.
It was a lot
right?
of fun. Yeah.
And I would draw lowriders. And every now and
Yeah,
then
you-
I'd draw the Bachelor's plaque or the Imperials. And I would draw these cars out. And these guys, oh, can you draw me this? Can you draw me that? But
Yeah. I remember that, Joe, about you. I don't mean to interrupt, but you were a great artist. You probably still are. I remember that from high school. You'd draw some stuff. I go, man, this guy drew it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was just to
good
keep the
stuff.
class quiet so everybody can do their tests. I think our tests were automatic grades at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
Man,
But-
when I went there, the brothers, man, they would knock you in the head, man,
Yeah.
if you didn't act right. I guess it was just like no ifs and buts about that. It's just like wow.
Well, Robert later Whiteout, he became Robert Pompey because that's why he got his
Yeah.
white on the whole thing. He had a pompadour,
Yeah.
blonde hair, straight back. Bad as I haven't seen him in a while, but man, that was a great guy right there. But
Yeah, he was
man, I
in
remember the
Bachelors.
nuns because he was always in trouble for anything. And they would put him in the back and, and they would hit us. They'd shake us and hit us with a yardstick all the time
All
on
the
our
time.
knuckles. And he would always be in the back of he didn't have a desk there. He was always in the corner sitting there facing the wall, right? And then we went to a high school, sad to say, it was all boys. There were no women in our lives. No women except for the nuns, right? And then there was Sacred Heart next to us.
Yeah.
And every time the girls walked by, we're all telling them things. It was nuts back then.
Yeah.
But it was great times, man. Not just the whole area. East LA was a half a mile away, and you can go to the markets and everything. If you love Mexican food, that's who my mom was. And I would
Beanbag.
go down to the Brooklyn and Ford Market and all of that.
Should we go to the beanbag?
Yep. All them places, man. You could still cruise by there. The names of the businesses change, but everything still looks the same.
Yeah.
But as this guy influenced me, you mentioned right now your brother Nick. Now he had a Camaro, which were the most popular cars, like the 59 and the 64 today. The Camaros, if women saw you in a Camaro, I don't care what color it was, they would just flock to anybody that owned one like that. Your brother had one. And I remember in the early days of Cannings when they were, the Lowriders would be in there. There would be the Majestics, the Bachelors LTD would be in there. And there was a big old thing. And I think this was even in my freshman year. All the Bachelors broke out with a Camaro. It's Nick's car. Yeah. And of course, we knew you guys, man. And let's go see it. And that was the talk of the town. That was a talk throughout the whole lowriding little industry through high school and everything. He's going to break out with that Camaro and it has a Rolls Royce front end. That was pretty badass to do something like that with that pointy nose. Can you explain that to us? Since we can't get Nick, who's also very shy and modest, to come out here. What was he like growing up and building a car like that? Paint job was badass too.
Well, that's
Explain
that's how I got involved with the cars. Seeing him with his lowriders, he got into the Bachelors, and he was just telling me recently when he got in, and I guess Ronnie, they were older than me, so I wasn't in yet, but there was maybe 6 or 7 members. When my brother left, it was 60 members. So it was a big evolution in the club itself and in the entire kind of lowriding whole thing. So yeah, the club really evolved in that time. But as far as his Camaro, he had Bill Hines do all the work. So that in itself was, I don't know how, I mean, Bill Hines did mostly all customs. I don't know how many lowriders he did.
Well, he was one of the first guys with hydraulics. He actually perfected a lot of that. But yeah, he was a customizer.
Yeah,
from the 40s and 50s.
And I think Bill came up with the ideas for the car. My brother agreed, and then they built it. And he did that, the grill, and Bill painted it, and it was a beautiful car.
And he was an older Jewish man, even back then when we were kids. Hunchback, huge cigar, almost bigger than his body coming out of his mouth. And he did a thing called perching, was back then, because especially for the 72 Caprices and even maybe the 69s, when you would lock up the front and you drove off and laid the back down, you would scrape gas tank all the time, man. You didn't want to do that, and you pop holes in it and you'd be going down the road. And if you had a bar of soap, almost everybody had a bar of soap back in those days, because soap, you could run back in the back of the car, lay down on the floor, find that leak on that gas tank and rub soap on it, and it would stop it. Next thing you come by, even if you're on the boulevard, somebody scrapes on you. Before they come back, you're waiting for them to come back. Then you go out there and get them, and you hope that soap's working. You lay down that car and those sparks are coming out, man. If gasoline's coming out, boom.
Well, my 65, I had my Impala, I had to stick a Volkswagen tank inside the trunk. And this is, I always think about this, and I tell the story, is we put that Volkswagen tank to the side because I was always scraping on the bottom. And then I had like 3 batteries in a 7-Up soda box or whatever, those wooden boxes. After a while, the corrosion started where the box would break apart, and I said, "Yeah, we'll be all right." Not realizing I got a gas tank right here, loose batteries here. And I'm like, how in the world did I survive this, man?
Oh, it was nuts.
It was like,
We didn't think about it back then.
no.
And I'm pretty sure that's what Heinz did, or I could be wrong. It could have been Harris, but they would take the gas tank height on it and cut a 2 inches off of it, almost
Right.
like sectioning it, and re-weld the gas tank to make it shorter so it wouldn't hit. And then they would do something almost like a C notch and perch the back so that now those cars, when they locked up, bam, they would hit bumper.
They hit bumper.
And that was like, oh shit. And not everybody had that, but you had to go to guys like that were pioneers. Bill Hines was a great candy painter, probably one of the best ever at candy red, right?
Yeah, he was
good lead singer. Yeah, he was good at lead and all that stuff. The guy was good.
Yeah.
Him and, a lot of the other guys. But it was pretty good to know these guys. And then, like you said, Harris, he lifted my front on the 58. And they used to, back then, they would have the cups and they would put them in the coil. They would braze the coils so that the cup would ride correctly. This is back then. And it would squeak like a mother for a while, but after a while it would go away. But I was thinking, man, that was really old school stuff, the way they used to do the lifts and all that. And of course, they used to have to bridge the back if you had leaf springs. That was the only way you were going to do it. And some of those bridges was like, holy shit, I don't know how they held. But they did.
Yeah.
But that was.
So they changed steering wheels, white wheel wells, organ stereo pipes in the back window with the angel hair, right?
Right. Yeah.
Show pipes were very popular back then.
Bell
All of that, though.
Bell flowers, yeah.
All of that
New
stuff
house.
was Krager's. New house was huge,
That's
right?
what you get all the accessories.
Always there, yeah.
Get a new house.
That or Pelly's.
So how does, with all of that going around, you guys decided to, okay, we're gonna get in a car club. We're gonna start a car club. So here we go. We're gonna establish the Bachelors Ltd. When did this all take place? What year?
I'm gonna say we were still in high school. I remember Nick and a couple of the friends, Mike Perez, Danny Garcia, say, hey man, we're gonna go look at this place over there on 3rd Street. These guys have a club. We want to see what's happening. So we went, and like I said, it was more of a muscle car type club. They had like the old square plaques back like in the 50s, and it was Bachelors Ltd. So we got in it. We just started our own thing, and basically we took over after Nick was the president. I was a vice president, and we started doing ourselves, and we had our plaques made the way they are now as far as Bachelors Ltd. And I'm going to say it was around 71 that we started.
Who designed that plaque?
I don't
It's
know.
different from everybody's because it goes in a big wide loop and then LTDs on there. Bachelors Limited.
Correct.
So to join the club, you had to be a bachelor. I mean, I could have done that back then, right? But
Yeah, I don't know if that was a requirement or not. It was just kind of the name that you guys took over.
Just to party, just to have fun.
Yeah.
That's all. Like everything, just to have.
That's kind of what the club was
Bachelors sounded unique, different. It's like, yeah, okay, cool.
you feel that a lot more people, a lot more guys would have joined in, but they were married already.
about. No, maybe I might have turned off some guys, but I don't know.
It got to the point though. It got so big, like
Yeah.
he said.
Yeah.
I think I left in 75 or something. It was like, man, there's just too many. But I was married. Was having a kid coming on, and it's like, guys, I got to do my thing. So, but it was we had a lot of stuff going on, dances that we used to throw, and
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
What were the places all the dances happened at?
Different clubs. Roger Young, downtown LA.
International Ballroom?
International.
Yeah,
Ballroom,
International
What was the one that was
Universal.
sunken in? It had a sunken in dance floor. It was out there in Cudahy, somewhere like that.
Yeah, can't remember. I'm sure.
And
There
all
was,
the
there was a
backyard
lot of
parties.
places. There was a lot of. We were. I don't know. It seemed like we were known for the big dances that
dances,
we
yeah.
would have. I mean, there were fundraisers for us and maybe charities, but yeah, we did a lot of them. We had our promoter we were working with, and
You guys had a large car club. It has to be due to the fact about the cars. If the cars aren't all that, I mean, if you have a better car than that club is, why do you want to get in there? You'd rather go into somewhere else where the quality is a little bit better sometimes. But you guys had a bunch of cars that were just badass, all done up. interiors too. Who was your upholsterer before I go too far? Because it was Mike who had the parachute red and gold headliner. Wasn't it? It wasn't Mike Perez. It was
John Perez, his
yeah,
brother, with
yeah,
a Chevelle. He had a
yeah,
Chevelle.
yeah. Chevelle.
Yeah, it was
That thing was bad. Everybody was
like a
talking junior
butterscotch
parking lot.
candy, man.
Go check out the headliner. Have you seen that? It was
Nice.
badass.
That I think that Frank Rodella. I don't know if you're
Frank
familiar
Rodelli. Oh
with
yeah,
Frank.
Yeah.
he's still out there doing.
He is. I saw him maybe 3-4 years ago, and I hadn't seen him for almost 50 years.
He had a lot of ideas, man. He was doing
Yeah.
a lot of the Majestics cars back then. If you remember those old times
Yeah,
and shows.
Yeah, it's, I really never got much into the interiors. I was more on the exterior as far as the car, and I was that's what my focus would be. But yeah, a lot of these guys had some beautiful interiors, Bob and Son and all those guys.
Yeah, yeah. And you talk about, the size of the club, started with maybe 6 or 7. And I think once guys started really doing more to their cars, getting them looking better, we attracted more guys. Before you know it, there's three more new guys coming to a meeting. Following week, 2 new guys coming to me, coming from all over the place. We had guys from Santa Ana,
Mhm.
we had guys from Compton, we had just from everywhere. For back then, it was, it was good to see the club do that and
The
grow
camaraderie,
like
right?
that. But
Yeah.
of course, like anything, it grows too big, and brings on other
Problems.
issues. So
No chapters today. Now they have chapters.
yeah, no,
Back then you didn't need to have one. The club was
Yeah.
that
No,
big,
no.
right?
yeah, and then it was a close knit group of guys, and obviously the bigger you get, you kind of lose that closeness, I think. But
Back in the 70s, early 70s, so we're going to go to 71. There weren't too many car clubs out there. I remember the Latin Lords seeing that plaque.
Right.
I saw the Sons of Soul. Imperials, they were out there. And the Bachelors LTD. Majestics, of course, came in a little bit after. But what were the other car clubs?
You had Orpheus.
Yeah.
New Wave,
Yeah, New Wave.
Which became Click.
yeah,
And then you also had New Breed.
New Breed, yeah.
And
It wasn't a lot, but
You guys got along with everybody pretty much back then?
it seemed
All the
like we
different car
did.
clubs?
It seemed like we did, for the most
yeah,
part.
we got along with pretty good with
Yeah.
Group.
Yeah.
We were Eddie and all those guys. And like I said, it wasn't about gang stuff or whatever. It was just about having parties, man.
Well, that's what the name is derived from, right? It just Bachelors LTD, and that's what it's
Yeah,
about. It's a young age, and I'll tell both of you guys right now. Lowriding back then, if you were young and you were kind of single still, or maybe there were a few out there got divorces and they would come back to it, but it wasn't something that you were going to grow into around 26, 28,
No.
30 years old. You would not be caught
Yeah.
in a lowrider at that age. And that's the way it kind of was.
Yeah.
We would have to graduate from that and go away and show that now we're responsible, family
Yeah.
oriented people now,
Yeah,
right?
and you
that's-
didn't have the
and people
money
did
if you
that.
had a family to
Oh, yeah.
build a lowrider anymore and maintain it.
Yeah, that bug never left you. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I had to transition to the family life and got married, had 2 daughters, but you still, that car thing is still there, and it continues. With Dominic and myself, we have cars, buy and sell and redo, and I'm into the 30s, the coupes. I love the coupes. I have a 35 LaSalle coupe.
You're into the Suede Palace. You're into the Suede Palace. So there's the Roadster show, the annual Roadster
Right.
show that happens, and there's a like a 1950s huge shed. It's a hall, and everybody in there is dressed up like Marilyn Monroe. There's black and white TVs all over the place, and you have almost a different car. Once again, almost every 2-3 years, you have another build, even in patina or painted, but you're still out there setting the trend, even for all those guys in there that are in their 70s and 80s or 40s
Right.
that are barely getting into it. You're changing the game in there a lot.
Yeah, I'd like to do a lot of, like you said, the customization. I always look at how a car flows. And if it needs to be chopped, then got to chop it to make it flow correctly, because you got to enhance some of those styles that the original equipment didn't do. And when you do that and you adjust it accordingly, and not go too far, then you really have a beautiful car that just flows correct. I always like to look at it as putting a drop of water on the top and seeing how it flows down. And that's where you got it. So I got it. Just I love customizing cars, especially to make them look better. And you know, to me, I love that. It just goes a long way.
So yeah, he ruined you too, didn't he?
Yeah, he has a
Yeah, and
he
that's
has-
a
he has a
vision
good-
I kind of have too when I look at things like that too. But
yeah.
I mean, you were way ahead of all of us, man, what you were doing. There were others probably that were out there, but I mean, the influence that you portray with your cars and body modifications and the different paint jobs that you experimented with, obviously, if I don't know what was going on with you, every 2 weeks you painted a car. Maybe your new girlfriend didn't like that color, or she picked out that color. I want to know what was going on with you, Dominic. But who was your painter all the time?
I met a guy. I don't know. Probably when I had my when I just got my Chevelle. His name was Steve Hurd, and unfortunately, recently, just this past December, he passed. He lived in Huntington Park. He was probably about 5, 6 years older than me. I met him through another guy's car that I saw him paint. I asked him who painted it. He told me. I went to see him. He ended up painting my car. I don't know how many times.
You had a green flake one time, right? And
yeah,
black with green
I had a
flake.
black
was it?
with green
There,
flames.
see,
Uh,
that's what happens when you don't
yeah.
do drugs. I still
Yeah.
remember that.
You know, and it was funny because back then your car, your lowrider, no matter what you did to it, that was your daily driver.
Right.
You
right.
needed that car to go to school. You needed that car to go to work. It's kind of different than nowadays where you have your car put away somewhere and covered up.
Yeah.
And that was just our car that we wanted to have it look nice while we were driving around.
They were still under warranty though.
Yeah.
Today the warranty's expired 50 years ago, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And it's different now. Now today's times are different from the days that, we went to a parochial school. We had priests, and then later on when we went to Cantwell High School, then we had brothers. But we were taught religion, and that's what our parents. When we grew up, my parents, I know your parents and your parents, we were in a community, in a different community. It was uppity, Monterey Park was, and our parents worked hard. My dad came home with calluses every day. He didn't put up real estate signs or did an operation on somebody.
Yeah.
And we had to keep up with the Joneses more or less. But we went off and we did our own things right after we got licenses.
Yeah.
We went out there and
Yeah.
started doing things for a neighborhood like that where the bachelor, not the bachelors, the hatchers. I remember that
The
the
Hatchers,
Kwans and
yeah.
all them, that family. Hey, they were well off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you to drop the 65 out there with Grand Prix taillights or next to 58, they must have just said, oh, they probably didn't go down the hill. They probably pulled a U-turn and left all the way.
Oh, believe it
Don't
or
look at them kids. Don't look at
that
them.
whole neighborhood was like the Gomez brothers.
Yeah.
My older brother was into it too, and I.
You got your Mike. All your brothers were the best.
And then
we played
you
football
see
together.
neighbors look like, oh, God.
You too?
Yeah, I mean, the neighbors they were cool about it, but we were different breed, But it's funny you should mention it because all three of us, our fathers were hardworking men.
Yeah.
Ron's father owned gas stations. Your father was delivering
Equipment, yeah, heavy duty equipment.
Yeah,
All of them bring
my
his truck home.
my
and-
father was a brick mason, stonemason.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of our neighbors were doctors and, so a lot of people would look at us like, oh, you guys are the rich kids.
And
who
why
live up
would
there,"
you-
but it wasn't really true.
Why would our parents move us out of certain areas and take us to? Because the homes were brand new.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
brand.
We moved in a brand new home, right?
Yeah.
Our parents meant so much. They took us out of different environments, put us somewhere to show us. Don't ever put you in the right schools so that you don't ever become me. Work with your mind, not with your hands like us, right?
Yeah.
And they spoiled us by putting us in school. I think I used to pay $25 and then became
Yeah.
$48 a
Tuition.
month.
Yeah.
My brother and sister both went to St. Thomas and then they went to Mission and Cantwell until they got kicked out. Cantwell High School, we had to wear ties, everybody.
Hair.
There were no
short.
girls. Hair had to be cut at the collar. My brother used to wear a Pendleton and my mom would iron his khakis. It was just like, what are you doing? Primeros Chicos was a gang there that was in the school. And I tried to tell my mom, no, leave him alone. He dresses like my dad and all that stuff. But he got thrown out because he wouldn't tuck in his Pendleton. You had to tuck your shirt in and have a tie. So he put his clip-on tie in his Pendleton, dropped his pants to the floor, front of the principal and then picked him up slowly and put him on and looked at him and goes, just follow me to the office. Next thing I know, hey, you're missing out, him and my sister. He goes, I go, what? He goes, we're going to Alhambra High School now. There's women there. It's crazy and all this stuff. He goes, and you know, every day I come home and they would just laugh at me, him and my sister. Ha ha ha, you're like in a prison over there. And that's the way Cowell was. But our parents paid good money and worked hard to put us there. And then we went backwards on them by building lowriders.
I think it paid off. We're still here.
Destroying brand new cars.
I would say this, and I've told this to my daughters, is like you said, we evolved back into the lowriders and all that kind of stuff. But I would say this, Cantwell, from the time I went, really, really helped me as far as adjusting according to, I was with a company called Genuine Parts Company, Napa Auto Parts Distributors.
Oh, that's
and
right.
I didn't have a college degree. I went to East LA for a year and a half. But because of what I learned at that school, because it was a college preparatory, is I was able to move up in that company into management. I oversaw 13, 14 stores throughout LA, which most you couldn't do unless you had a college degree. But because, like I said, what I learned at that school, and you were forced to learn it. And I always give accolades to that school of helping me figure out what I need to learn as far as education and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a good school. And I thank my parents for making me go. Because I didn't want to go. I wanted to go with Alhambra High, Marquepo, whatever it may be, where we lived. And it was great. But now I was happy and
Religion had a lot to do with it, though.
big time.
Yeah,
It did, man. We showed respect for everybody. It was,
I appreciated my parents sacrificing, whatever it cost. Maybe it was only $25 at the time.
Oh,
but
at the time,
that was a
expensive.
huge
that was a lot of money.
A lot of money, yeah.
And they had to give up things for us to do that. And maybe I'm still here and sitting here right now today because of that.
Did you ever go with us when we would be the teacher pets? Raw Gross was always one
No,
of
I was never one of those.
Okay, so we
They
would
called
go
me
and
something different.
They would tell us, they would pick out like a couple of the girls and a couple of the guys. They'd take about six of us over to the convent to go and help out and clean. And we would get in there and vacuum and everything. Then we'd see all the nuns come downstairs. There were only about 4 or 5 of them,
Yeah,
right? Teaching most of the classes.
Right.
And they didn't have their habits. It was like, it freaked us out. Because then every now and then, when my teacher told me what I had to do and what homework and why are you missing and this is what you got on your test, I looked at her different. I would always remember without her habit. And it would scare the hell out of me. Those times going even through high school, we were really close friends. There was Raw Gross, Tommy Ramos, and let's just say you right now, Bachelors, Imperials, and the New Life.
Yeah.
We're all together. When each of you guys joined your clubs, there was a little separation there, wasn't there?
A little bit, but we still remain friends to this day. So
Yeah.
it couldn't have been too much. But yeah, obviously, I spent time with my club. They spent time with their clubs. But it wasn't. I mean, maybe a little bit of rivalry of whose cars could be nicer, what clubs could be the best, and yeah. But we still remain friends till today.
I saw how everybody took a different path. It was competition, or why didn't you? It wasn't really you should have joined our club. Why didn't you? We were friends. It was to each his own, whatever fits your fancy, right? Whatever, it's you.
Right.
It's your own personality, the way you build your car and where you're going to go.
Yeah.
But I saw those little indifferences. And then I remember when I called up Rawl and I told Rawl, because, I was always close with Rawl. And then just decided, hey, man, what's New Life doing, man? I want to join. I want to get a car. And then I got a car, and he goes, well, we're going to disband and we're going to start all over. I'll let you know the new name. And then we just carried on from there. And I carried everything I saw from up in that hill, going down to the market and everything. But there were some good times. When you want to look at lowriding the way it is today, and I don't care what you're into in that Suede Palace or what you're doing with that badass black, what year is it?
41.
41 Cadillac. You guys are pioneers. I mean, this is where we're at today because of you both individuals. So whatever you see out there, the 58 you destroyed that you Frenched in, the taillights and all that, they will not even touch a car like that, let alone, I think most of the guys that own 58s, 58 rags,
Oh, they don't.
I think they don't even wax them themselves. They hire a company to come in and do it, right?
Yeah.
Things are different, but let don't ever forget that whatever we're at today, we just continue to graduate from your teachings is what it is. And I hold you guys responsible for it. So everywhere you go, it has changed though. So you see the 58s out there. We're here having a discussion that they can go up to 350 right now.
Wow.
And you went out there and took yours and you did what you wanted with it. And it takes away from low riding. But again, because of the investment into these cars, it keeps low riding alive now.
Yeah,
It's way
yeah.
different from your time.
Yeah, at that time it was just an old car, whatever, do what you want. Now, like you said, because of the age and they're just worth a lot of money. And I had a 58 Impala just like 3 years ago, beautiful car, pristine. And I was looking at it and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna. I sold it because I didn't want to mess it up or whatever. And I said, but it's always my thing to get an old car, like I said, from the 30s and 40s and do what I got to do. So when I had that car, I said, no, I'm not going to, that's a beautiful car. So I sold it to a sheriff. He paid a lot of money for it. But I said, it's better to leave it like that because I don't want to destroy it. I just, I say destroy. I don't want it to look the way I want, but it was such a pristine car. I left it alone. I'd much rather sell it. I come across a lot of them, and it's just if they're too nice, I sell them. I got into Zephyrs for a while, 38, 39, 40 Zephyrs, very rare cars, very hard Lincoln Zephyrs, and I sold a few of them, but you want to try and customize, and it's like, man, I'll leave that alone. I'll move on.
Do you are you building something else again?
I have a 1935. It's Cadillac LaSalle 3-window coupe. Beautiful car, very Art Deco.
Beautiful car.
Very Art Deco. Oh my God! And I'm gonna do some stuff to it. I'm holding myself back from chopping it or anything, but I am gonna lower it and get it running right. And that's basically what I have right now.
Any ideas on paint or anything like that?
It's got like a dark burgundy paint on it right now.
Yeah.
And that's probably where it's gonna stay. I've got to touch it up. But it's such a, Art Deco to me is just the 30s. It's just such beautiful lines and everything, the way they used to build cars back then.
Everything, even the building structures, everything the way it was, huh? They go way out of the 40s too in the 50s, but not as much as going back into the 30s. That's why I think some of the baddest bombs that are out there are in the late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
They're just in a different style altogether.
And depending on the manufacturer, a lot of them were almost as close to being coach built the way they used to build them.
Right.
And that's where that man hands-on is what would make a car. Now everything's so stamped, do this and all that, but you can't get away from those 30s and just gorgeous cars.
LaSalle was a Cadillac, right?
It was the lower end of the Cadillac, but it turned out that whoever designed, I forget the name of the guy that designed it, it outsold Cadillac. And that's why they ended that model in 1940 as far as LaSalle goes, because it was outselling the actual Cadillacs themselves. But like I said, it's a beautiful car.
Cadillacs were different.
Yeah.
They were the upper class, you know what I mean?
I always consider that.
And if they got kicked down, then some of them became Buicks, you know what I mean? They'd kick them down and let Buick build that.
Yeah.
What about you, Dominic? I know you have your Cadillac, also beautiful Rallic, black on black. I've seen you've had a number of cars. You've had 63 Buicks also.
I've had about 4 Rivieras.
Yeah.
Right now I have also a 62 Wildcat. That's the other car I have, so I have the 2 of them.
They're different from the 62 Impala.
A little bit. The roofs are the same.
Yeah.
The GM made the same roof for Chevy, Buick, Pontiac, Oldsmobile. They'd pull them off the shelf, stick them on whatever car was on the assembly line. Saved a lot of money that way, I guess. But it's a nice car. It's kind of rare. You don't see too many of them around. But I just want to mention a minute ago, you mentioned that Ron and I, guys like us, sort of pioneers. You're thinking that, of the Lowrider customs. Yeah, and I just want to say back then, it was, to me, I had never expected lowriding to get to what it is today. I mean, not only, I don't think it's more than nationwide, worldwide. As I was a kid and doing it and having lowriders, I never expected that. It was kind of just
It was
a
frowned
local
upon.
thing, you
A
know.
lot of it was frowned upon, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it was kind of frowned upon. And it was just kind of a thing, and then you got, you were done with it. And but I just want to say, I really attribute you, Joe, to all the work you've done in that,
Promoting
in
it. Yeah.
promoting that and bringing it to what it is today. I mean, I never imagined that it would be accepted worldwide and really, so I give you credit for that.
Well, it's part of my influences, right? Right and left to
Right.
me. We're all in it together, like I always say, or till the wheels fall off. You're still building.
Yeah.
You too. I mean, you're changing up cars, but I mean, you get bored of the 63 Impala or the 62 because you've seen a million of them.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, Buick, Pontiac, they had some beautiful designs too. Yeah, they're a little bit different, maybe the front or the back.
Yeah.
Somebody showed me a picture the other day, and of a 66 Oldsmobile Delta.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to look at it twice, throw on my reading glasses, and really stare at it and just said, did somebody go and take this 66 Riviera and then they cut out the back instead of it slanting down on the Riviera? They brought the quarter panel up into like an eyelid.
Yeah.
They brought it up like the Chevelle looked, right?
Right.
Or did they change the top on that? And I kept on looking and looking, and then what caught my eye was the bumper was different from the Riviera. So the more I looked at it, I go, that's a Delta 66 fastback. And that thing, and it was wired down, slammed on the floor. Man, that was badass, man.
Yeah. You got to remember back then, Chevrolet was a working man's car.
Yes.
A farmer's
More affordable.
car. More affordable. Exactly. And Buicks, Cadillacs, Oldsmobiles, you were a step up, and they were a little more expensive. So a little better design maybe, or different design.
Yeah. More acceptable.
Yeah.
But then back then with lowriders, like you guys were talking about right now, Cadillacs were really, back in our days, Cadillacs were not accepted until maybe 77.
Yeah, lowriding, yeah.
Yeah, they were never accepted. And then when you look back at the 50s bombs and even the 40s, and you see all the fleet lines and everything, those Cadillacs,
Well, even like
there's nothing wrong with that design either, man.
with the Packers, I've had plenty of late 30s Packers, beautiful grills. And they weren't really done back in the day. And I always wondered, and I used to talk to some of the old timers, and they said, well, that's because they couldn't afford those cars back then to do what they do. Because I've had a few of them. I've dropped them. I have one that's been chopped and dropped, and I sold it. But what a beautiful car. And the one thing I always looked at, too, is before we started modifying any of the cars that I had is, I said, let's drop it. You got to drop it first before you do anything, because you can't really modify a car when it's just stock, because you can't get that perception of how it needs to be, proportion it correctly. You got to drop it, and then you build it.
Yes, you do.
And that's what we...
That's everything right there, huh? You guys remember when the first True Spokes came out?
Oh, yeah.
Was it 76?
Maybe 5.
75, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I got a set of
I got a
them,
set, yeah.
Yeah. Put
Craigers
them on
was
my
always-
shoe.
House? From
I'm sorry,
Newhouse?
no, I actually bought them from a guy.
Was
he
it
in the
Performance?
Imperials. What's that?
Performance?
No, I bought them from a guy that had ordered them before they were even out. He got them, put them on his car, and 2 weeks later decided this isn't what I want. So I bought it from him, and I put them on my Chevelle. Yeah.
They looked totally different when they first came out because we're used to Calchromes,
Yeah.
Supremes were
Well,
very popular.
Kragers.
And then,
Krager.
the
If you had
Kragers,
Kragers,
if you had another extra $20, you could get a set of Kragers,
Yeah.
which
If
you
you-
have
if
to
you
almost
had
work a full
$20.
day to get $20.
Yeah. If you had it, you could afford Kragers.
$200 a week, $225 supporting a family is what I made back then.
Yeah.
Wires come out and they're $320.
Yeah. It's a lot.
And I had a hard time looking at them and looking from 75 all the way back to 68, 69 when I was a kid building model cars, accepting a wheel like that. It was really hard for me, not just the cost of it, work a month and a half to get them, or a week and a half. But if you go back to the old days when they were making all of these cars out of clay,
Right.
designing all of them, they would put wire wheels on them, shallow, of course,
Right.
and bigger size, 15 or 16, right?
Right.
And then they'd have a white wall tire, which was classy. It looked like a Jaguar and all that. So it didn't grow on me right away, but the more people started to put them on there, and then you're always constantly rethinking your car's design or your paint job over here. So then you eventually buy into it, and I've seen it enough now. I grew into liking it. Damn, there goes two of my paychecks, right? And then they broke out. But hydraulics, back in those days, our early days, you'd only lift your back, right? First.
Well, yeah,
For
you lift your
safety
back.
reasons.
Well, it depended on the car you had, because if you had leaf springs in the back, you're like, oh man, I got to bridge this. So then you would lift the front. And then unless you could afford to somebody build you the bridge and all that kind of stuff and lift the back. But yeah, they were rough back then. I mean, we were at Pally's every damn Saturday replacing the old rings on the cylinders. That's, they used to leak all damn day.
You don't wake up at night in a cold sweat dreaming about that old white
Oh,
guy that's
oh, yeah.
behind the counter. What
Yeah.
do you want this for? Yeah. What do you need?
Yeah.
Why? Well, it keeps on popping, so I have to get it. Well, then you should get one with a hard top.
Yeah.
And then you go back and disappear for a while. Here, $6.75, and he just look at you. He hated what we were doing with all their aircraft plumbing and everything, components. He just hated it. And we'd be back next week again. You fucking guys, you just don't get it. You're not supposed to be lowering your cars. This is for airplanes.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was.
I thought it was normal to have your hydraulics leaking all the time.
Yeah.
Then in the last
Oil all
30
over the
40
trunk.
years.
You're supposed to be proud of it, right?
Yeah,
Why is your car leaking? So it's not my engine, it's my hydraulics.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have hydraulics on this car? Yeah. Hell yeah.
Guys are talking about what are you talking about leaks? In the last 30, 40 years, it's different. I mean, because you buy brand new parts. In our day, we had to buy used aircraft parts and try to make things
Out on a
fit
date,
and work.
trying to strap the
Yeah.
hoses under
Yeah.
the car because they're hanging.
So
They're
all my school books were filled with hydraulic fluid in my trunk.
transmission fluid. Yeah, that's what we
Yeah.
use.
Don't bring that damn car in this driveway.
Yeah.
Fix it out there first before you come in here, my dad.
They all
always,
leaked.
man. And every now and then, my poor dad, he'd come home mad, and he loved our cars, and he liked lowriders. At a club would hang out at our house, swimming, barbecue. Even when I wasn't there, they would all be there all the time. They could park their cars in the driveway, but every now and then, my dad would come home, and God damn, I'd go, "What's up, Pop?" And he would just say, "Well, somebody out there, one of you lowrider guys took my tailgate pump," because he used to park it right down the hill, by Salute Liquor. He would park it down there by Fred's gas station, and somebody went in there, and he would weld that whole thing up, and they would just go in there somehow and cut it out and take his pump.
I heard guys.
And he had the Mama Gates, which was a badass lift.
Yeah, we heard guys would do that.
Then he had to go in there and box that whole thing up, and reinforce it. Before they were blocking frames, he was doing that too.
Yeah.
So we grew up in great times, man.
Yeah, it was.
And Raw Gross always says that too. He goes, "Where are you going to get that at? Where we lived at, come down the hill. There's East LA College." No, for me, coming down the hill was the Monterey Park Police Department.
Yeah.
And if you could get by them, going through alleys and all that, and work your way up to Alhambra, that was even worse. It's like if you're going through Berlin into Germany, right?
Yeah.
Those cops were the worst.
I'll give you a story real quick on that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Not quick enough. I like stories like
I had a 65, it was black. It laid. And I think I got 5 tickets within a month for the hydraulics. So I had to go to Alhambra Court, the old Alhambra Court. So I get there early in the morning. I said, I got to go to work, but I went there to pay the tickets. And I parked right in front of the court, and I just drop it. And then I'm inside waiting in line. And this bailiff comes in and says, "Who owns that black Chevy?" And I'm like, I have a black Chevy out there. He goes, "Get your ass out there, and you better pick it up before I have it towed away." I said, "It's parked. What's the problem?" "You just do what I told you. I'll have it towed away." I'm like, and then so there's a lot of people out front, a lot of people, I guess jury duty, whatever, and they're all looking at it, and that's what irritated him, because this thing's just laid out mean. So I go over there, put my hand in there, and everybody, "Oh, God!" And I looked at him. I said, "Is that good enough for you?" And then I go back in. Now I just lost my position in line. He goes, "Don't ever do that again." I said, "Yeah, whatever." I just walked back in.
that was my famous, today it's like hands on the wheel. "How are you doing, officer? You safe out there? How's it going? What did I do?" Right? Back then, it's like, you have nothing better to do.
I know, exactly.
You have nothing better you have to do. You didn't have fun in your times. Get out of the car. And they throw me on the ground, take out my back seat, look for drugs. Monterey Park, and they knew me very well. Montebello was even worse until you lived there, right? You have any good stories? Back in
No,
the
well,
days?
the sheriffs weren't too much better. I mean, they were famous for you'd pull you over and they'd pull your back seat out and throw it out on the sidewalk, and
Yeah.
they'd look around for 15 minutes, won't find anything, and just tell you, okay, go ahead. But meanwhile, your whole back seat's out on the sidewalk. You'd have to put everything back together, and there you go. But that's what they used to do to, I guess, to try to deter us from hanging around or
Yeah,
just
they didn't like
whatever they thought we might be doing. So
it was if you let your ticket go for a hydraulic ticket, if you let it go to warrant, it was $32 to pay it. And then after you accumulate like 5 of them,
Yeah.
it's like, oh damn, here I go.
Pull my
I got to
license.
come up
yeah,
with 150 now.
yeah.
But it was worth it not taking off your cylinders and welding up the holes and
Oh,
all
no.
just to get it signed off. So you
Yeah.
let it go and go, I'll just go pay it. I'll just go pay it. And the day that you don't pay it, probably on Christmas Eve or you're chauffeuring in a wedding and they pull you over and like a slot machine going off,
Yeah.
you're handcuffed and you're going into
Yeah.
those famous little
We had a
jails.
couple of officers that would sign it off because they didn't care. They were cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't mention names.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
Today it's
I-
totally different.
I do have one story about the hydraulics, and I think it was my '64 Impala. I was in Montebello on Beverly Boulevard and got pulled over because I was probably driving it low, and cop, comes to the window. Hey, can you get out of the car? Yeah. Hey, can you open your trunk? Yeah. Open the trunk, and the whole setup's in there, pumps and batteries and cylinders. He says, "Uh-huh. What's this?" I said, "You know what, officer? I just recently bought the car. I'm not sure what it all is yet. I believe it's some type of air conditioning system.
Yeah.
I'm not sure." He looked at me, said, Get out of here."
Yeah. You know why?
He knew-
You were his officer. You showed him a little respect, but he knew what was going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he knew. He said, Get out of here."
There were so many times I got pulled over, man, and they just told me, you know what, give me your keys and then you drive for him. Just get over there. Or they
Yeah.
pull me over and go, you have no registration, no tags. You have 2 warrants. You're on my watch right now. Give me another half hour. Please take your car back home. Montebello, cops.
Yeah.
Take the car back home and just wait for a while until I get off.
Yeah.
And it changed. And it's changed more today. Low riding's changed more.
Yeah.
So are the cops, man. They enjoy it. They pull you over even to check your car out.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, they
That's
do.
true. They do. I've driven up to Paso Robles and all that. And I don't have license plates on my cars. I hate putting them on.
Paso Robles.
They won't stop you.
That's another subject. But growing up for us, going through Brightwood, St. Thomas Aquinas, East LA College. Bart used to go to college. You said 1 year. Bart went there for like 6 years. What are you doing here, Bart? Why are you still here? What are you majoring in? He goes, women. And he would just sit there in the front, and check out all the girls that went to school. But everything, man, from the markets, the whole atmosphere, man. La Fonda, the Paredes' their father, the doctor, bought the restaurant across the street. Everything that we saw and how it's happened today, even the days when we were in elementary school, all those little things, man, I still go back to this day. If I got to remember 10 important things in my life, it's always going to be my school and my religion and the cars that surrounded us back then. And I'll always go back. No matter the style of cars that you
Right.
guys are building now, we're still having fun. Adult model cars is all it is. And you're just redesigning and checking them, right?
Well, I'd say it keeps me out of the bar. So
I remember your buddy Rawl, and this is a story I'll always go back to. There was Batman, same bat time, same bat channel. And then there was wrestling with Freddie Blassie, the Sheik, and way before Hulk Hogan and all those guys came along. I think wrestling was real back then, wasn't it?
we
So
thought
my
it
uncle
was.
told me it wasn't, right? This guy gets Rawl into a headlock, and we're in the playground in school at recess, and you take him into a door jam that's about this big, and then the door is flush way back there. You take him in and you ram him in front of everybody. Even the teachers, the nuns are out there. You ram him, and there's no way you can tell from the side because he goes in to the door this far. He puts his hands on. He hits the wall, blam, loud like that. And you're coming out looking around like it was wrestling, right? And Raw comes out, does a spinning circle and collapses. And then he's like having an epileptic fit, right? He's shaking, he's kicking his legs. And the principal is there and she sees it. But from an ankle, oh no, what have you done to him, bro? All right. And he's there like half passed out. They grab you by your ear because that was, or their sideburns. They took you to class. I thought, man, they're going to kick Dominic out. Raw. Hey, man, this is a serious thing. They're gonna, no, he went on with a whole fake like he was hurt, rolling around. They took you in. I don't know what they did to you, but man, all those times, all your paint jobs, everything. Playing football with your brothers up there at Sequoia Park.
Yeah.
All of that, man. Look where we're at right now. Not here. Look where lowriding is today. Customizing, painting. Look where it's at now.
Big.
Did you ever see it like this?
No,
Do you understand
like
why
I said,
it's like that?
I never thought. I thought it was just something that would maybe go away or a phase, and things would change, and never get to as big as it is now. And like I say, I really attribute you to that, because how long have you been with it now, Joe? I mean full time with it
Since then, since I had my
over
Schwinn
50 years.
Stingray, and you had a 64,
and so
I had to grow up
we
quick.
kind of took breaks, and
Yeah.
and ourselves, speaking for Ron and myself, with our families, and then we kind of didn't lose the interest, but we had other things going on, and then we got back into the cars, but you dedicated your life,
It's
and
widely
that's
accepted
what you got.
worldwide now. I mean, like you said, it's international. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. It's just it's there, and it's only because of the promotion, a lot of things you've done, and then
I was influenced, and I've influenced others, and they got to pass the torch down the line and just keep it going.
Yeah.
No matter what your style is, it's just the American automobile.
Yeah.
When you get to the chase, we just change the tires a little bit, and we make sure that they're lowered and they touch the floor. Any shout outs to anybody where you're at today and what you've done for this industry that you can?
just everybody in general. I mean, like I said, I learned a lot working at my dad's gas station and seeing cars come in. And Harris, he was a big influence to me as far as the work he used to do on the hydraulics. It was so pristine back in that day, because everybody used to just connect hoses and do your square dumps and pescos or Adels, whatever you want to call it. And this guy was clean the way he would do it. So he always inspired me to do good work, to do everything nice and orderly. And to me, he was a great influence. Another great influence to me is the old customizers, as far as guys like Westergaard.
Oh yeah.
Old customizer that has had that eye for those old cars, and Lee Pratt. We have a friend now, his name is Paul Cepeda, and he's done a lot of great things with cars. He's got that eye. Some of these guys have that eye, and they know how to cut a car. It's not that easy. People think, oh, you just chop a car. No, it doesn't work like that.
No,
So
not at all.
I would say those guys are pretty inspirational to me.
And you, Dom?
Well,
Don't say Freddie Blassie.
I say, first of all, my brother, I don't know if I would have even got into lowriding at all had it not been from what I saw what he started doing, and I wouldn't have gotten into a club because he was president, so I got in and stood with it for a long time, and he was probably my biggest influence. When his car was at Bill Hines' shop getting worked on the Camaro, I'd go down there a lot and spend a lot of time with Bill, and we'd talk, and he was good influence on. I think that's why I changed paint jobs so much. He would tell me about all the different paint jobs he did, and so I want to change it up a lot. And yeah, I think that's it.
Harris is going to be on this show. I think Eloy's going to bring him on.
Oh,
So he's
really?
going to come and talk about his modifications. So, the studio bar is almost going to be wrapped up pretty soon. So we'll be able to have a couple more guests in there. So it'll be good. Get you guys back here and get Harris on there. Bill Hines, we can't bring back. But before we come to a close on this show, who was the first, what, from what you guys know, going back in your history, who did the first hydraulics?
I think of Ron or Gary.
You think it's Ron?
I think it's Ron.
Before Hines?
Yeah.
Before Harris?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would have to agree with Ron. Yeah,
It wasn't Nick.
between him or I, it was
Because
between
he's watching this show.
Yeah, I know.
Was it
I
Nick,
know
right?
it is. But no, I would say, yeah, Ron's probably right. Either him or Bill Hines, and it was just Probably in what, late 50s, Ron?
Yeah, late 50s.
Late
Yeah.
50s.
It doesn't matter though. We're gonna get them on the floor anyways,
Okay.
because that's the best way to look and design a car before you paint it,
Yeah.
do body work, get it on the floor, no
Get it
matter
on the
what it
floor.
takes.
It's a complete different look.
All right, guys. We'll see you here soon again next time. This is another episode of the Wire Down Show, everybody. Going back into too much history, Catholic school, wrestling. I think it was all here. Frenching in taillights, Grand Prix door handles, not just their taillights, was a good custom mod. Dominic, good luck in everything you do, changing
job.
up all your cars,
Thank you.
enjoying what we do, and we just continue down the road until the wheels fall off, everybody. Thanks for being with us.